So the two things we really need to cover today with the build are going to be safe zones and just the flow of the build. When you're first learning a build, why would you take it on ladder? You don't even know what you're meant to be doing with the build, like intrinsically. If you can't sit there without looking at a document and like read out every little intricate detail and timing just off the top of your head, then there's no point taking it onto ladder. Well, not as much point anyway. So one of the best things you can do is every time you hop on to play ladder, hop into an empty custom game like this and just run through whatever build you're working on. So with your Overlord at your natural, try to sit that a bit further out front just so you've got a little bit more warning if a probe does come down, so that you can get a drone down there in time to stop him kind of walling off a ramp or just being, you know, one of the dick moves. We don't want to give them the opportunity to do that. As your hatchery gets closer to done, even around 3 minutes, you can actually move that Overlord across the map and get it in position. Just after 6 minutes, we are going to put back on gas. What happens next is once your third base gets above about 8 to 10 drones on it, at that point you can drop our second and third gas. As your third base is saturated, you can drop your next 3 gases. And around the time we drop that, or just afterwards, now we can go kind of, alright, we can get that lair, Roach-Hydra, and Evo chamber. And we tend to get those all around the same time. Likewise, let's assume, oh, we feel safe. We've seen the Protoss kind of take the gas on his third base and so on. Let's drop down our gases at our fourth, rally our hatcheries over to it, and you know, we can build some drones for it. Now, for the saturation on your fourth base, you never want to go above about 10 drones on minerals plus the gases mining at the absolute maximum, because if you go above that, you just don't have enough supply for your army. But anywhere from that range to just having 2 or 3 drones on minerals and just the gases mining is completely fine. The big problem you'll have once you get used to just when everything goes down is actually reorganizing your saturation in the midst of it happening. Remember, it's always okay to have 18 drones on a base in the early game before you take gases. 20 drones is not even the end of the world, because you are going to be taking gases within the next minute or so, and then, you know, you're going to use those drones up on that. And as for the Hydra count itself, you usually only need about 20 Hydras at most. Any more than that's usually a bit overkill. And I mean, really our aim is to have the Vipers popping before we're maxed. So that way, by the time they finish sucking energy, we're kind of hitting the most perfect timing. I mean, you can imagine, right? If we're waiting when we're maxed, yeah, we're losing efficiency right now, right? So this is the sort of situation where you want to suck to just have 75 energy, or not even 75, like 70. Let the rest of it generate as you go across the map, and go straight across the map with this Roach-Hydra once you've got that little bit of energy sucked out. Normally send a single Roach ahead of your army. You want to really know where their army is and what its composition is whenever you're attacking with Roach-Hydra, because positioning is just so important. How you use your spells is so important. If they've gone just Immortals and Stalkers, for instance, you only want to use Blinding Clouds, usually. If they've got a lot of just Colossus, obviously it's just the standard Abducts, and so on and so forth. Because we are just going to continue for another 2 minutes. First of all, let's think about that idea of, from our ZvP philosophy document, having our next transition set up before we begin the previous attack. So remember what I was saying, as you start your Vipers, we also want to start a Spire. So you can start your Great Spire. Get used to this idea of doing a Broodlord transition, right? So let's...
Would you say double Spire is better?
No, not at all. You don't really need upgrades for the Broodlords. Broodlords are kind of like sentries. They're more about the force fields than the direct damage output. To be honest, it's the Broodling damage which is more significant than the actual Broodlord attack. So getting a second Evo chamber can be really, really nice. Usually around the time your hive starts, but it's very adjustable. So do you ever hotkey your evolution chambers?
No, I have not gotten into that habit yet.
But you use camera location hotkeys, and your evos are already in your main pretty much always, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't matter as much anyway, as long as you're consistent with where you put your structures. I always change where I put mine, so I like to have them hotkeyed.
Uh-huh.
But with the spire?
I pretty much always put them in the same spot.
Okay, cool. So just get used to making sure you keep an eye on that spire. I like to even keep it hotkeyed so like while I'm attacking I can start the greatest spire. I'm kind of checking as I'm moving across with this. But realistically, however you want to do it, if you hotkey it, whatever, and just make sure you get the greatest spire started as quickly as possible. So often you look at it, you're kind of like, oh, I've got 20 seconds. Okay, let's start fighting. And once I'm into the battle, but there's not much to micro, at that point I can try to remember to start the greatest spire.